I speak in a low tone. My voice moves like a slow river. It asks nothing from the mind but a willingness to rest. I invite the heart to open. I invite honest quiet. I invite whatever truth sits there, tired or hopeful or unsure. I hold this space for gentle arrival. The room feels warm. A soft lamp glows like a distant star. Feet are settled. Shoulders slowly drop. Breath comes in and out without force. The body begins to listen. I will read the Bible to you tonight. I read with a calm rhythm. I read to offer comfort. I read to remind the fragile places that mercy is near. I read to point to a steady hope. The words are chosen to soothe. The pace is measured. The aim is rest. I ask for authenticity more than performance. There is no need to pretend brightness. Admit fatigue. Admit questions. Admit small joys. Let the mind be honest. Let the safe corners of the heart show their true shape. Truth does not frighten the quiet listener here. Mercy meets what we bring. Picture a quiet valley beneath a wide sky. Light arrives slowly at the edge of the hills. A single lamp rests in a small window. Inside, a person pours tea and sets it on a low table. The steam speaks in thin lines. The scene is ordinary. It is enough. The image helps tether the attention. Focus softens around it. I move slowly through each sentence. Each phrase is a small footstep. Each pause is a space to breathe. Imagine the sound of your own breath matching the rhythm. Inhale, exhale. Notice how the shoulders ease. Notice how the jaw unclenches. Feel the slow lowering of any tightness in the chest. I invite a posture of openness. Not open in command, open in trust. Not in certainty, open in receiving. The invitation is simple. Receive a word of kindness. Receive reassurance without needing to earn it. Rest in the knowledge that compassion reaches farther than any mistake or failure. I keep language gentle and brief. Sentences are like soft lanterns along a path. They do not demand long attention. They light what is needed, then allow shadow to return. The listening is the work. The reward is quiet. I suggest you set aside the quiet doubts for now. Place them beside you, like a folded coat. They remain honored. They are not dismissed. For tonight, they rest while a different voice speaks. This voice brings peace more than argument. It brings warmth more than proof. I remind you that rest is not a weakness. Rest holds healing. It lets the soul mend. It allows the small broken places to knit. The lamp in the window holds steady. It does not rush. It does not worsen anything by simply being present. This is the pattern for our time together. I speak with the gentlest certainty. There is care in the tone. There is steady affection. The aim is not to fix everything now. The aim is to create a safe place for slow healing. Each sentence invites one more moment of calm. Picture now a shoreline at dusk. The sea breathes in and out. Tiny lights appear on distant vessels. Each light tells a story of someone heading home. The vast sky leans close. The horizon is soft. This scene is not a lesson. It is a companion. It reminds the heart that wide spaces can hold small griefs. The ocean does not judge the pebble. It embraces it. For the next moments, allow the Bible's words to unfold like that shoreline. Let them wash gently over the edges of worry. Let them touch the worn places with a soft hand. There is no rush to understand every line. There is only invitation to receive. I will pause between readings long enough for quiet to deepen. Those pauses serve a purpose. They give the mind room to settle into the meaning rather than chase it. They allow impressions to rest. They let the heart respond without haste. I refuse to argue. I avoid heavy debates. The voice you hear is an usher, not a prosecutor. It brings mercy before judgment. It brings rest before instruction. It seeks to soothe rather than to prove. The focus is healing. The tone is gentle. The light is steady. Imagine a small garden behind an old house. A narrow path winds through herbs and low flowers. The gardener kneels and tends one plant. The care is quiet and consistent. No grand display, just persistent kindness. Healing is like that gardener. It starts small. It returns again and again. It thrives where attention is patient. If the eyes close, that is welcome. If sleep arrives, that is welcome. If thoughts wander, that is welcome too. Nothing interrupts this time. Each wandering thought is gently noted and then let go. Return to the slow breath, the lamp, the steady light. I speak with soft images so the mind can rest. Simple pictures serve as anchors. They do not require heavy thinking. A small boat rocking, a warm blanket, a well-worn chair. These images are gentle instructions for the nervous system. They say you may settle now. I promise no quick answers. I promise companionship. I promise presence. The presence is larger than any explanation. It presses close in the quiet and says without loud words, you are seen. You are accompanied. You are loved. I avoid complex theology and avoid abstract disputes. Tonight's reading leans into tangible mercy. It leans into the acts of kindness and the steady threads of hope. It lifts the heart toward rest. It whispers of a refuge that holds when storms come. The imagery is humble. The message is kind. I encourage small acts before we begin. Turn off bright screens. Dim the light to gentle amber. Place a hand over the heart for a moment. Breathe slowly 3 times. Feel the weight of the day settle. Allow the neck and shoulders to loosen. These small acts prepare the body to receive. I invite a quiet question, not to be solved now, simply to be felt. What needs rest tonight? What asks for mercy? What hopes for a softer morning? Let the question sit without immediate demand for an answer. The silence itself tends to the need. I am mindful of pace. The reading moves like a measured tide. Sentences land and pull back. Thought has room to float. There is no hurry to arrive at conclusions. The evening is not about finishing. It is about lingering. I offer short prayers between readings. Each one is sparse and plain. They ask for peace. They ask for strength enough for tomorrow. They ask for small mercies in the dark. The prayers are not long discourses. They are soft notes strung through the night. I use images from creation and from gentle human life. They are familiar and safe. A child's slow breathing, a mother's soft hand, a star that continues to shine though unseen. These images are not metaphors to analyze. They are tools to calm. I will read portions of Scripture that mention comfort, patience, and hope. The selections are chosen to rest the heart. They do not press complex doctrine. They remind of kindness shown in simple acts. They point toward a presence that walks with those who are weary. When a passage ends, I allow space. The space is not empty. It is a soft chamber where the words settle. Let them land. Let their warmth reach the cool places. Feel the edges become less sharp. Notice how a single phrase can breathe into a tired thought and soften it. If tears come, let them be a part of the healing. They are not failure. They are a release. Allow them to flow. If laughter comes, accept it as light. Both responses are welcome in this quiet room. I will return to the steady idea that healing often arrives through small, consistent gestures, a shared meal, a kind message, a prayer whispered in the dark. These are the tools of the night. They build a shelter no storm can fully destroy. I speak now of hope without hurry. Hope is not a grand guarantee shouted at the mountaintop. It is a small lamp placed on the windowsill. It is a promise kept through seasons. It is a hand extended when the knees are weak. Expectations shift slowly. Hope grows quietly. Prepare for reading now by softening the jaw and relaxing the tongue. Let the shoulders slide a little further from the ears. Let the eyes drop to a comfortable focus, or close, if that feels right. Notice the rhythm of breath. Let it slow. I end this invitation with a tender assurance. The next moments belong to rest. The Bible's words will come like clear water. They will cool a fevered mind. They will wash away the dust of the day. Receive them without proving. Receive them without argument. We begin together, quietly. The lamp keeps its steady glow. The distant sea breathes. The valley waits. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let the first word fall like a leaf into still water. Let the ripples carry what needs tending. Now, with open heart and relaxed body, we step into the evening reading. The voice moves forward in calm. The night listens. The soul leans in. The promise of gentle healing begins. I turn the Bible so the thin light falls across the edges of the pages. My thumb keeps the place. I breathe in the hush. The house leans into night. Outside, a low breeze moves the trees. Inside, the air rests warm and still. I speak softly. I say the passage in my own words. It is simple and sure. It says that when 2 or 3 gather in his name, he is there with them. The idea slides like warm water over the skin. Presence is not loud. Presence is not a storm. Presence is a steady hand on the shoulder. Presence is a hush that says you are not alone. I imagine a small room. 2 chairs sit close. A cup steams on the table between them. The window is cracked open a little. In that small gathering, the presence arrives like a familiar tune. It needs no announcement. It sits without demand. It watches without judgment. I repeat the thoughts slowly. Presence comes when hearts meet in quiet intention. It appears where attention turns toward mercy. Even if only one person offers a soft prayer, the presence is near. Even a whispered hope gathers company when it is spoken in the name of love. This is not a promise of grandeur. It is a promise of nearness. I ask you to picture a kitchen late at night. A single light hangs low. Someone finishes a cup of tea. A hand rests on the table. The world outside hums with distant sound. The presence steps into that ordinary scene. It moves like a soft draft, like a breath through an open cup. It does not sweep everything away. It simply makes the moment tender. I read a line and pause. Each pause opens a place for the mind to settle. Let the meaning sit like a pebble in a still bowl. Notice the small rings that appear. They widen slowly. Let the thought of being seen warm the chest a little. Let the idea of accompanied sorrow ease the tightness around the ribs. I do not preach. I offer images. I do not pravi. I point gently. Presence is like a chair pulled close to someone who cannot sleep. It holds space without demand. It does not insist on answers. It stays until the breath steadies. I describe a train station at midnight. A commuter waits alone on the platform. A stranger offers a quiet nod and a small smile. The nod is brief. The smile is simple. Still. The waiting feels less heavy. Presence can arrive in such small exchanges. It often does. I listen to the sound of my own words. They come low, and even they are meant for ears that want to rest. They avoid sharp edges. They do not argue. They do not explain the whole of mystery. They bring comfort to the places that ache. I read another short portion and let it rest. The words speak of togetherness, not numbers. They speak of attention turned in love. They promise that closeness is not measured by crowds. Even two, even three, even one when sincere, these are enough. The presence is an intimate visitor. It stays with quiet courage. I invite a slow image of hands. Two hands reach across a small wooden table. One hand covers the other. The touch is unremarkable. It does not solve the deep trouble. It does steady the trembling. The presence often arrives through such humble gestures. I offer a soft prayer. I do not demand answers. I ask only for peace to find the restless places. I ask that company arrive for those who feel alone. The prayer is brief. It is a candle lit for someone far from home. It travels without fanfare. I speak about the house of memory. Rooms often carry more than objects. They hold quiet histories. The presence understands this. It walks gently through those rooms and sits where hearts need rest. It does not rearrange the past. It brings a warm blanket for the present. I suggest a small practice. If your mind grows loud, place a palm on the chest. Feel the heartbeat. Speak the thought, I am not alone. Say it quietly. Let the words become a quiet rhythm. Repeat them slowly. Feel their effect like a tide pulling back a little. I weave another image. A gardener in early morning kneels to pull a weed. A neighbor passes on the path and pauses to greet. The gardener looks up. That brief meeting eases the labor. The presence is like that neighbor, unexpected, kind, and grounding. I keep sentences short on purpose. They are small steps across a quiet floor. Each one allows breath to return. Each one gives a place to lay a worry down for a moment. The rhythm is deliberate. There is room between the lines for listening. I read again, and then stop. These moments are not empty. They are soft chambers, where the seed of consolation can take root. Let it sink into the warm darkness. Let it find the crevices where old hurts tighten. Presence here is patient. I avoid heavy theology now. There is no long argument. There is no deep explanation of metaphysics. Tonight is for holding, not for dissecting. The aim is mercy, not mastery. The focus is care, not correction. I tell a small story without names. A woman walks a quiet street at dusk. She pauses under a street lamp. A bench sits nearby. She sits and rests. A passerby slows and says nothing more than, "Take your time." The simple permission loosens her shoulders. Presence is often permission given in small acts. I press fingers lightly to the open page. The paper smells faintly of ink and dust. That scent carries me back to nights of study and nights of rest. Scripture reads like a familiar voice. Its presence is steady. It does not demand applause. It offers company. I encourage a gentle reach outward. If the heart feels held, consider telling one trusted neighbor about this place of quiet. Share the warmth if it sits easy in the chest. A small invitation can multiply presence. A message sent in kindness can be a lantern placed on another window. I say the word community in a soft tone. It can mean a room of friends. It can mean a single person who listens. It can mean a distant brother or sister who receives a call. Presence moves through these connections. It finds the cracks and fills them with light. I pause to breathe. Inhale slowly. Exhale slowly. Imagine the presence like a slow tide. It comes, swells, and then rests. It leaves behind a smoother shore. Pain is not erased. It is softened. I offer another brief prayer. Ask for companionship in the night. Ask for mercy's patience. Ask for hope that does not shout but stays. These small appeals move like soft bells. They ring without clamor. I invite the audience to remain gentle with themselves. Rest looks different for everyone. For some, it means sleep soon. For others, it means sitting with a quiet thought until comfort comes. Both are fine. Both are accepted here. I speak now of faithful presence in times of loss. It is not a cure. It is a closeness that holds the broken pieces with care. Imagine a small basket of letters. Each one carries a memory. Presence sits beside that basket and sorts no mail. It simply keeps company with the sorting. I remind gently that presence can be practical. A simple meal left at a doorstep. A note of encouragement slid under a door. A quiet call to say nothing but, "I'm here." These acts are ways presence moves through ordinary life. I return once more to the idea of gathering. It is not about the formality. It is about the turning toward love. It is about intention more than ceremony. When the heart inclines in that direction, presence follows. It does not measure our eloquence. It honors our earnestness. I speak of the night in which you listen. It is a good night to receive small mercies. Let them fall like soft snow. Let them cover the sharp stones. The presence walks through that night with a steady light. It does not shout. It simply shows the way. I close this section with an invitation to stay. If the heart hears comfort, hold it lightly. Let it warm you. If it does not come, do not panic. Presence often arrives in time. Patience is itself a form of worship. I nod gently toward community once more. If these words help, share them in quiet ways. Tell a friend who wanders in late. Send a message to someone who needs small company. Encourage them to listen and to pass along the comfort. A circle of care begins with a single, simple act. I will pause now. The next part will come as another slow reading. I will bring more passages that speak of mercy and rest. For now, rest with the thought that you are not alone. The presence is nearer than it often feels. Breathe. Let the notions sink in like a warm cloak. Let your shoulders drop a little further. Sleep if it comes. Stay awake if it does not. Either way, let the quiet presence remain. The next time I read, we will sit a little longer in this gentle company. The house listens. The page waits. The night breathes. Sam. Hope in times of trouble. I open the page again. My thumb rests lightly where the thin paper bends. The room listens. I read in a quiet voice. The words move slowly, like a path through fog. They carry the thought that hope can be small and still be enough. I speak of trouble without rushing. Trouble comes in many shapes. A late-night worry that will not leave. A heavy word said long ago. A loss that returns like tide. The reading does not explain why. It only points to a steady help that walks beside the struggling heart. I tell you that presence often comes as promise. It does not promise a life without pain. It promises company in the pain. It offers a hand when the legs are weak. It sits with the ache and does not hurry it away. This is a kind of hope that breathes slowly and keeps watch. I imagine a patient sitting in a small hospital room. A lamp hums on a bedside table. Outside, the city is distant and indifferent. A friend slips into the room and places a cool hand on the blanket. The gesture is quiet. It does not explain the future. It only says, you are not alone. Hope begins there. At the simple contact, I read a passage slowly that tells of shelter in storms. The language is gentle. The promise is close and practical. It speaks of a refuge that receives the weary, of a canopy that covers trembling fears. I let the words settle between us like warm bread placed on the table. Take what you need. Eat softly. I pause. The pause is long enough for breath to deepen. Use that breath. Let it move through the chest like a slow tide. Notice the muscles around the eyes ease. Notice how the shoulders fall a little further. Hope sometimes asks only this, a moment to breathe without pretending. I do not build a grand argument. I do not announce certainty about every sorrow. I offer trust in small gifts, a message that arrives when the mind is raw, a handwritten note on a kitchen counter, a voice that remembers the name you thought forgotten. These small gifts are the daily labor of hope. I invite you to picture a small boat in fog. The sea is calm, though the horizon is hidden. A faint light appears on the mast. It is not a lighthouse. It is a lamp held by a friend in another boat. The lamp does not change the sea. It makes direction possible. Hope is like that lamp. It gives a reason to row another minute. I place the Bible down for a breath, and then read again. The next passage speaks of a companion who knows the night hours. It knows how long the waiting can be. It does not measure courage by noise. It recognizes the quiet endurance that keeps going despite fear. That recognition itself becomes encouragement. I say a short prayer. The words are simple. I ask for tenderness to reach the places that have hardened. I ask that patience find a home in the clenching chest. The prayer is soft, like a shawl placed over shoulders. I do not demand immediate change. I ask for presence and a little more light for tonight. I suggest a practice for when the mind circles the same worry. Place a palm over the heart. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for a moment. Breathe out for 6. Repeat slowly. The rhythm pools calm. It does not remove the worry. It shapes a space where worry can rest without taking over. I tell a small story without names. A man sits on a porch and counts sparrows. He does not notice courage returning until the 12th bird settles on the railing. The count is meaningless in a strict way. Yet counting brings attention away from the worst edges. Hope grows not by grand leaps, but by small acts of attention. I read another passage that speaks of endurance. The words are like soft mortar laid between broken stones. They do not pretend to join everything perfectly. They hold the pieces close enough for warmth. Endurance here is gentle. It is not heroism. It is the slow willingness to continue in faithfulness. One breath at a time. I recall nights when hope felt distant. I sat with a book and a small lamp. Tears came at odd moments. They were not shameful. They were a kind of rain that loosened packed soil. Later, a note arrived. It said little. It only said, "I am here." That small line changed the angle of the heart. Hope arrived through another person's remembering. I avoid abstract answers. I do not ask the mind to accept complicated doctrines. Instead, I offer images that rest, a blanket laid over knees, a neighbor bringing stew, a song hummed in the kitchen. These acts are the practical shape of hope. They are not grand, but they sustain. I read again and let that thought breathe. Hope often looks like steady habit, a prayer said each evening, a habit of thanksgiving for small things, a call to a friend once a week. These rhythms prepare the heart to notice tender mercies when they come. They train the spirit to recognize light, even faint. I offer a moment of silence. Use it however it helps. Sit with a memory that comforts. Speak the name of someone who means safety. Let the silence itself be a place where hope can appear. It waits in quiet, like seeds waiting in winter soil. I speak of courage that is not loud. It is the courage to wake up and try again. It is the courage to ask for help. It is the courage to say, even quietly, that this hurts. These small admissions open doors. They invite others to bring what they have. Hope moves through such openings. I read a short line about a shepherd who does not abandon a lost sheep. The image is close and small. It reminds us that being sought matters as much as being found. There is dignity in the seeking itself. To be pursued by care is an affirmation of worth. Hope is tied to the knowledge that someone cares enough to look. I give a plain invitation. If trouble feels heavy tonight, name one small need. Tell it softly to God in a single sentence. Keep it brief. Let the asking be simple. The act of naming takes something out of the dark and places it into the light. Hope answers best when it knows what to hold. I describe a candle on a windowsill. Outside, the street is quiet. The candle does not banish the night, but it signals presence. It says someone is here, attending. Light is a witness. Hope regards the small light and remembers that larger lights often begin this way. One flame kept alive. I read another brief passage that promises rest for the weary. The promise is not an immediate fixing. It is an invitation. It says, "Come, sit down. Let me give you a moment." I let that promise sit on the tongue like a cool drink. Das it. Receive it slowly. I ask you to consider easing the grip on certainty tonight. If answers are lacking, allow their absence to be looked at with gentleness. Not all nights require solving. Some nights only require sitting. Hope can be patient with questions left open. I offer a short prayer for the anxious mind. I ask for a calming of thoughts that loop. I ask that rest find a way into tight places. I keep the prayer small. It moves like a quiet tide. In and out. Listen to it like a bell at a distant harbor. I encourage a small habit before sleep. Choose a word that means comfort to you. It might be steadfast, gentle, near, repeated with each out-breath. Let the word slow the mind. Let it become a soft rhythm that steadies the night. I tell again that gathering, however small, brings hope. A single person praying can be enough to invite presence. A whispered name in a room can call mercy near. I emphasize that the value of a gathering is not in its size. It is in the sincerity of turning toward what is good and true and kind. I close this section with intention. Hold a small hope tonight. It need not be perfect. It need only be honest. Let it rest like a small stone in the palm. Keep it close. Let it warm in your hand. Tomorrow, it may feel heavier or lighter. Tonight, carry it gently. I will read on soon. More passages wait that speak of mercy in the small hours. For now, breathe. Place one hand over the heart. Let the steady presence of the night answer you. Softly, let hope arrive in the modest ways it prefers. The page sits open. The lamp bends to the dark. We stay here a little longer. Together, I settle the book on my lap and let the room breathe around it. The lamp throws a soft circle of light. The paper rustles when I turn a page. My voice moves slow. The thought I offer first is simple. God has plans for hope and a future. That idea rests like a small promise on the tongue. It does not rush to explain. It only holds. I do not speak the verse aloud in full. I speak its comfort instead. plans that are kind, a future that keeps hope. Those words fall into the quiet like rain on a tin roof. They sound steady. They ask only to be received. Imagine them as a map drawn in gentle ink. The lines do not erase the present pain. They give a direction. Once, many nights ago, a letter arrived that changed a path. The job had ended. The rooms felt too large. The list of what should have been done sat heavy on a chair. The letter was small and ordinary. It said that a neighbor had passed along my name for a small project. It asked if I might help for a season. I did not feel deserving. I felt uncertain. I took the work slowly. The work led to a new kitchen table of friends. Those friends led to other doors. The path grew by small steps. It did not look like a plan when it began. It looked like a series of ordinary choices. Later, the thought of hope and a future read in the old book made sense in a new way. The promise is not always obvious at the first bend. It sometimes arrives in quiet connections. In a hand offered, in a door nudged open. I tell that here because each small movement matters. You are part of a greater plan. Even when the map is hidden, the heart that worries tonight is still included in the drawing. The line that holds you is not lost. For some, the sign of being included is a chance that seems late. For others, it is a face that remembers a name. For many, it is a quiet rearrangement of daily life that slowly makes room for healing. The reassurance is gentle. It sits beside the anxiety and says, there is a way forward that carries care. I close the book for a moment and look up. There is mercy in the stillness. Mercy feels like a blanket, warmed and folded. Forgiveness lives in that same warmth. Forgiveness does not erase memory. It eases the weight of it. The scripture I read tonight says that when faults are named, forgiveness follows. It promises cleansing that makes room for new steps. The promise is practical. Like water on dry soil, it seeps slowly and changes the texture of the ground. Confession is not a long speech. It is a small, honest admission. It is the quiet naming of what sticks to the hands. The practice is simple. Look at the thing that weighs the chest. Name it in a single, plain sentence. Admit the hurt done or the harm received. Lay it down. The act of naming is not meant to shame. It is meant to open a place for repair. When that place opens, mercy moves in like a soft wind. It brings a sense of lightness that was not there before. I remember a night when a long-held regret woke me like an ache. It had lived in an old pocket. The memory kept replaying. I held the thought and spoke one sentence into the dark. The sentence was small and honest. Saying it did not change the past, but it changed the posture toward it. The shoulders went down a little. The breath deepened. The next morning, the recollection sat less like a stone and more like a story. That small change continued. Over time, space formed where bearing had been tight. Forgiveness had not erased the loss, but it had opened room for a different breathing. The room here smells faintly of paper and tea. The candle casts a steady glow. Confession can be performed like a gentle ritual, a hand on the heart, a slow inhalation. A brief exhalation. The naming, then a pause, long enough to feel the air move through the ribs. The pause is important. It allows mercy to enter without hurry. Forgiveness is patient and steady. It does not race to fix everything all at once. Imagine a basin filled with warm water. A small piece of cloth sits at the bottom. The cloth is stained by many small acts. One by one, the stains lighten as the cloth sits in the water. The process is slow. It requires return visits and gentle rubbing. So is forgiveness. It sometimes needs repeated moments of honesty and kindness. It needs companions who will wash the fabric with care. The result is not perfect whiteness. It is a cloth that can be used again without the same burden. I offer a short practice now for this quiet hour. Place a palm lightly over the place where the breath is felt most. Think of one small thing that needs release. Say its name softly. Not as an accusation, but as a handing over. Hold the breath there for a count. Let it go. Picture light touching the named thing. Picture the light being steady. Not harsh. Let the light rest a moment. Repeat, if needed. The action is small. It is not meant to solve every trouble, yet even one release shifts the balance of the night. I do not press for grand confessions. The practice is for those who carry a mild but persistent weight, for the hearts that wake to the same worry at 2 a.m, for the minds that replay a word they wish had been different. Forgiveness is gentle. It knows the difference between quick repair and deep mending. It offers both when called. Part of being forgiven is being offered a new way to see the self. This does not mean forgetting the choices that caused harm. It means meeting those choices with a new compassion. Each forgiven action becomes a lesson, not a brand. The lessons are quiet. They teach how to move differently. They teach gentleness toward others and toward oneself. In time, behavior shifts less by willpower and more by new habits formed in a softer posture. I remember a time of asking for forgiveness from another. The ask was awkward and small. It did not come with elaborate apologies. It came with a folded note and a cup of tea. The other person accepted without theatrical forgiveness. The return was a simple nod, and the offer of a shared meal later. That plain acceptance changed how the wrong was held. It did not erase the hurt. It softened its edges. Both people left with a sense of relief and a renewed pattern of care. Such exchanges often form the quiet scaffolding of the greater plan we cannot yet see. The promise of a hopeful future and the practice of confession are linked. Plans for good that are gentle enough to be true often include space for human failing. They include room for repair. They do not demand perfection as the cost of being loved. Instead, they welcome honesty and repair. The plan that holds hope is broad enough to cover mistakes. It is patient enough to wait for slow work. That thought can be a balm tonight. Let it rest on the uneasy places. I read a short line again from the book. It speaks of faithfulness in forgiving. The phrase is soft and steady. When faults are acknowledged, forgiveness comes as a faithful response. The language is not dramatic. It is modest and practical. It reassures that the work of mending is welcomed. No one is too broken to begin again in small steps. If there is anger in the chest, name it. If there is shame, name it. If there is regret, name it. Then place your palm on the named thing. and breathe. Each breath allows small mercy to shape the spaces left by the naming. The practice does not require eloquence. It only asks for honesty and willingness to receive kindness. I finish this part with an invitation. Let the night's quiet be the place where one small confession can rest. Choose one regret to lay down. Keep it brief. Let mercy meet it without spectacle. Allow the lamp's glow to be the witness. Rest in the knowledge that a plan for hope includes room for repair, and that confession opens a gate to a lighter future. I fold the page gently and pause. The house breathes. The lamp keeps its steady watch. If sleep comes, let these ideas settle like soft feathers. If wakefulness remains, hold this practice close. In the morning, the steps may look different. For tonight, let forgiveness be the small hand that eases the load. We will read again, slowly, and continue in that tender company. I keep the page open where the light falls soft. The thought of confession sits near the edge of the lamp's glow. Earlier, I invited you to name one small regret. Now I hold another idea beside it. Grace waits to meet that naming. It does not come as a reward for cleverness. It comes as a quiet gift. The book I read from tonight speaks often of grace. A favorite line is simple. It says salvation comes by grace through faith, and that grace is a gift, not a thing earned by doing more. The phrase feels like a cushion beneath tired feet. It does not insist on performance. It hushes the voice that lists failures. It tells the heart that being loved is not a ledger to balance. That truth does not remove responsibility. It softens the way that responsibility is carried. Confession is the honest naming of what clings. It is not a public parade. It is a small handing over. The act itself opens space for mercy to enter. The promise of forgiveness follows this movement. The air shifts when a truth is named in plain tones. I remember a night that taught me this. The memory holds like a smooth stone in the palm. A friendship had strained. Words had been careless. A silence grew. Avoidance did not make the hurt fade. It made the space between us colder. Each day added a thin layer of dust. The chest learned a new tightness. Sleep came in staccato breaths. The habit of pretending things were fine hardened into a mask that pressed at the temples. One evening the moon sat white and steady. The small courage that had been simmering finally moves. The choice is simple and quiet. Name the harm. Say the responsibility. Ask for repair. No speeches. No justifications. A folded note goes into a mailbox. A hand leaves a kettle warmed by the fire. The admitting is awkward. Pride resists. Fear wants to hide behind explanations. Still, the decision stands honesty first. The reply is not dramatic. A line arrived that read like ordinary kindness. It did not erase what happened. It did not pretend the pain never existed. It acknowledged. And then it reached out. The reaching is not perfect. It is real. The next weeks are slow. Meals are shared. Small tasks are done together. Laughter returns in short bursts that surprise like birds. The chest loosens. The nights grow quieter. What follows after that confession is what the book promises. Forgiveness does not fall from the sky as a thunderclap. It arrives in steady, patient ways, a softened tone, permission to be small, a willingness to try again. The heart learns a new rhythm. It breathes more deeply. Sleep returns like an old friend. Peace is not a sudden miracle. It becomes an honest companion that walks beside the day. That memory matters because it shows how grace works in everyday life. The biblical promise that grace is a gift feels less like theology when held in the hands of a neighborly action. The gift is given even when repair looks ordinary. A warmed meal, a mended fence, a shared errand. These are the hands that carry forgiveness from idea into habit. They make the promise practical. Confession itself is not a one-time ritual for most of us. It looks like a habit of returning to honesty. It may be a nightly act of naming. It may be a weekly habit of speaking a brief truth into a trusted ear. The important part is the naming. Once named, the thing does not have to live under that heavy shadow. Light can touch it. Water can reach it. Mercy can shape a new texture. When the mind braces against shame, the reminder that grace is a gift invites gentleness. The gift does not ask for clever words. It asks for an honest posture, not hiding, not justifying, not insisting on immediate repair. Instead, the posture is, this is what I did. This is what I regret. Help me find a way forward. The asking does not guarantee instant agreement. It does invite a possibility that was closed while pride ruled. A simple practice helps me return to this habit. Place a palm over the place where breath is felt most. Breathe slowly 3 times. Name one regret in a sentence not rushed. Keep the sentence plain. Imagine it as a small pebble placed in a bowl. Let the breath move the pebble gently. Picture light circling the named thing. Let the light be steady, not harsh. Hold the hand still. Stay with the image for a moment. Sometimes the forgiveness offered will come from another person. Sometimes it comes first, from a sense of being forgiven in a larger way. That earlier biblical line that grace is a gift offers a soft scaffolding. It does not replace the work of repairing what was broken. It softens the weariness that might block the willingness to try. The presence that forgives also tends the fragile place left by confession. The season after my small confession contains steps that are easy to overlook. A quiet phone call to ask a practical question, an invitation to help with a small chore, a shared bench on a sunny morning. These tiny actions show that forgiveness often follows the slow path. They stitch ordinary life back together. They carry the warmth that promises a future not defined by the mistake. When shame returns, the mind can find shelter in a remembered scene. I return to the evening of the moon and the small note. The memory is not a talisman of perfect outcome. It is a reminder of the way grace prefers real repair over dramatic absolution. It holds the patience required when mending is a series of gentle acts rather than one luminous moment. For those who believe, the promise that grace is a gift also invites a certain kind of relief. It says you do not need to perform to be loved. That does not excuse neglect. It does not minimize wrongs. It simply offers a starting place for mending that begins with being received. The mercy offered opens a way for courage to come. Mercy changes the posture of the heart. After confession, The heart is invited to accept kindness as part of the work of repair. There is a strange freedom in this. The mind that once rehearsed grievances can let them rest a little, instead of replaying the worst moment. Attention can turn to the small acts that create a different story. A shared step, a handed cup, a listening ear. Each becomes a brick in a new path forward. I offer a brief invitation for tonight. Choose one small regret to name. Keep it short. Place a palm on the chest. Breathe slowly. Let the naming be a handing over. Picture grace as a steady light that meets the named thing without glare. Imagine mercy taking the weight and softening it. Stay with the breath a few moments longer. Do not rush the feeling. Let the body notice the change in the shoulders. Let the mind feel the slight easing. If making amends requires a practical step, consider a simple action tomorrow. A note, a call, a small errand. Repair is often humble. It rarely requires grand gestures. The small routine acts of care are usually enough to begin the mending. Remember that the promise of forgiveness after confession opens a door. Walk through it slowly. The path is not perfect. It is honest. I close this part with a steady thought. Embracing grace means allowing a gift to change the way the past is held. It is not erasing memory. It is learning to carry it differently. The lamp beside the book keeps its quiet glow. The pages rest patient and open. If sleep comes, let these ideas settle like a soft blanket. If wakefulness remains, let the practice be near for tomorrow. We will read again. Slowly, tonight, accept one small gift of grace and let peace follow. I fold the page back and let the quiet hold. The house listens. The light is a slow circle on the table. I tell the passage in plain words. It speaks of a peace that does not depend on answers. It is a peace that passes the ordinary edges of reason. It rests behind the mind and keeps watch over the heart. The words feel like a cloak placed across tired shoulders. I do not recite the verse. I give it sense. The promise is that a certain calm will stand guard. It is not alarmed by every thought. It does not try to fix every worry at once. Instead, it shelters the places where fear tends to gather. The shelter is quiet and steady. It offers a sense that things can be survived without every detail known. Imagine that peace as a gentle fence around a small garden. The fence does not stop night from coming. It simply keeps certain sharp things away. A wind still blows. Some leaves still fall. Yet the inner space remains soft enough to walk in without stepping on thorns. That is the sort of peace the passage holds up. It protects the center where sleeping begins. I sit with that image and breathe slowly. Place a hand now over the heart. Breathe in for a count of 3. Hold for 1. Breathe out twice as long. The breath travels like a small tide. The mind may still wander. Let it. Return gently to the breath. Feel how the chest relaxes when the breath gets steady. Let the notion of guarding come as comfort, not as a demand. There is a memory I carry that helps make this peace plain. It happened on a cold night some years back. A storm came hard and sudden. Streets filled with fallen branches. A small bus stalled on a side road. I walked past with an umbrella and see people clustering, shivering. A wallet slips from a bag and lands on the wet pavement. No one notices at first. A young woman crouches, finds it, and looks up. She does not simply keep walking. Instead of taking it to the nearest station, she stands there in the rain and calls back. She stops other people who hurry by. She holds the wallet up for any who might recognize it. A man leans forward, speaks a name. A woman has tears at the recognition. The wallet is full of cards and little notes. It is not valuable in a grand way. It is only necessary and personal. She hands it over without fanfare. The return is simple. The owner is stunned. He thanks her in a way that needs time to come. The crowd briefly collects around them like warm steam. Someone offers a spare umbrella. Another offers a hand to steady a bag. A neighbor that no one had known suddenly becomes part of the story. The moment is ordinary, yet light settles into the faces like frost melting. Watching that small exchange changes something. It hushes a louder worry about the world. It makes the idea of grace less like a far idea and more like a near habit. The woman's act did not come with a sermon. There was no announcement from any platform. She simply reached into the rain and restored what was lost. Her kindness felt like an unexpected gift. It did not ask for any repayment. That lack of expectation made the gift look like something I had read about, something offered freely, without conditions. Afterward, walking home, the cold does not feel as sharp. The mind settles into the sense that good things still move quietly among strangers. The idea that grace is given without earning becomes easier to hold. If someone could return a small wallet in a storm with no reward expected, then perhaps a larger kindness could be true too. The memory becomes a proof of sorts, not philosophical, but practical. It rests as a soft fact in the chest. This is how the peace of God often comes, not by removing all trouble, not by explaining the mysterious. Rather, it arrives through small acts that remind the heart of a different order. A returned wallet, a neighbor bringing soup, a driver stopping to help push a car free of ice. Each act is a quiet translation of grace into the streets. They guard the human heart from falling into the belief that kindness must always be earned or cleverly arranged. I lean into such memories when night grows heavy. I breathe them in like a warm lamp. I recall the faces under the umbrella. I let the image sit for a long moment. The breathing practice steadies the body. The memory steadies the mind. Between them, a sense of guardedness forms that does not harden into suspicion. It becomes something gentler, a trust that's small. Free kindness still exists. The peace the scripture describes also protects thought. It keeps anxious patterns from being the only thing remembered. Imagine a soft band placed around the part of the mind that tends to repeat and worry. The band is not a cage. It allows thought to move and to ask questions. It simply offers a boundary that prevents sudden panic from taking over the entire space. This is why the text says, "The peace will guard both heart and mind." It is a protector of the whole interior life. To practice accepting such peace, try this small exercise. Close the eyes if that helps. Picture a low fence around a garden. Inside, place 3 small things that comfort a warm cup. A candle, a friendly face. Notice how the fence does not keep out the weather. It simply keeps the inner circle calm enough to use the cup. Light the candle and remember the face. Let the fence be the peace. Let the fence be a gift that needs no earning. Remember also that peace often comes from others. The returned wallet taught that kindness can arrive from a stranger. It reminded that grace is a gift and not a wage that must be earned. This practical kindness renewed the faith that mercy is real. Small acts like this become teachers. They show that human hands can carry something of the divine softness without boasting. The sight of one person doing what is right in the rain makes belief less fragile. It becomes resilient in an everyday way. There are nights when fear is louder than the memory of a returned wallet. Direct sorrow can overwhelm the softest image. In those hours, the peace offered by the promise works like a slow, steady presence. It does not assault the pain. It simply sits near it. It keeps watch. It breathes alongside. It teams. This is all that can be asked for. The peace asks for nothing grand. It asks only to be received. If the chest tightens now, let the hands rest on it and breathe. Count the inhalations slowly. Let the exhale be twice as long. Picture the fence of peace, form gently. Imagine the gift of a stranger, holding that fence open for a moment. Let the memory drift in. Let the mind know that not every help must be paid for. Some help is given because hearts can be kind. There is a prayer for this kind of quiet. Ask that the guarding peace find its way into the restless places. Ask for the ability to see small acts of kindness as signs of a larger good. Keep the prayer short. Speak it softly into the dark. Then be still. Let the silence be its echo. Tonight, let the peace that surpasses reasoning cover the anxious thoughts. Let it stand guard like a steady lamp. Let it keep gentle watch over dreams. If sleep comes, allow the guard to hold you. If wakefulness remains, keep breathing and remembering that small mercies still cross the street to help. The lamp on the table keeps burning. The page waits. The night listens. I close this section with a quiet invitation. When the next worry appears, name it briefly. Place it inside the imagined garden. Breathe. Remember the woman in the rain. Let that recollection remind the heart that goodness still moves among us. Receive the peace that guards the center. Let it be a calm companion as the house settles and the world leans toward rest. We will continue soon. For now, keep the breath steady. Let the memory and the lamp do their work. The peace is near. Keeping watch. Rest under it tonight. I turn the page and let the lamp hold the words in a soft circle. My voice lowers. The night's hush takes them in. Tonight, I read a passage that speaks of love in small, practical strokes. It lists what love looks like. It names qualities that change the shape of ordinary life. I do not recite the lines exactly. I give their sense. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not keep a ledger of wrongs. It does not seek itself first. Love is steady when storms come. It is slow to anger. It rejoices with truth. It protects, trusts, hopes, and perseveres. Those are simple words. They are not a test. They are a map for tiny acts. Each quality can be practiced without fanfare. I pause and breathe. Picture a worn kitchen table. 2 rings of tea mark the wood. A spoon rests on a saucer. One person waits while the other tells a long, halting story. The waiting is patient. It is not bored. It listens and makes space. That is what patience looks like in small rooms. Kindness can be even smaller. A left loaf of bread, a note tucked under a door, a hand that steadies a heavy bag. These acts do not demand recognition. They simply make the weight easier to bear. When kindness is frequent, fear fades like fog in morning sun. The passage warns about envy and boasting. It speaks against pride and being rude. These are not abstract sins. They are habits that bruise daily life. Envy narrows the heart. Boasting raises a small wall. Rudeness closes the door on gentle community. I remember a time when envy crept in without notice. A friend received a quiet blessing. I compared my own quiet life to that outward favor and felt small. The noticing of that envy was a moment of grace. I spoke it to the dark and let the confession be plain. The holding of that feeling softened it. A second breath made room for kindness towards the friend. That small turning reduced the shrillness in my chest. It taught me how love works by undoing the hard edges. The passage names self-seeking as a hungry thing. It eats up shared tables. Self-seeking makes conversations into competitions. It turns listening into waiting for a chance to speak. Love undoes this by placing another's need beside one's own. Not in sacrifice that exhausts, but in a steady habit of mutual care. Think of a neighbor who waits with extra patience when the car sputters and the night is cold. Their presence is a practice of putting another's need first, for an evening. The act costs little time but gives wide relief. Love, when lived like that, changes a community bit by bit. There is a line that says, "Love keeps no record of wrongs." That is a strange and generous practice. It is not amnesia. It is not pretending harm did not happen. It is choosing not to collect hurts like trophies. Instead, love lays them down or brings them into the light to be mended. I have held a small record for too long. A sharp word that replayed itself at odd hours. Over time, the repetition hardened into accusation. One night, I named the record aloud in a quiet sentence. The act of naming loosened its grip. I then offered a small gesture of repair. It did not erase the past, but it stopped the litany. That is how keeping no record begins a choice to stop rehearsing pain and to make room for repair. The passage also says, love is not easily angered. Anger is a fast ember. Left unchecked, it becomes a consuming flame. Love takes that ember and watches it cool. It does not deny the ember's presence. It learns to tend it with truth and patience until it loses the power to scorch. When anger rises now, a practice helps. A hand rests gently on the chest. The breath slows. I name the feeling without long commentary. The naming itself reduces the heat. A short pause, and a softer response follow. The heart does not have to be perfect. It can be guided toward gentleness, again and again, rejoicing with truth is another quiet habit. It means being glad when others flourish. It means welcoming their good news without measuring it against loss. When a friend receives a new possibility, love celebrates. It does not shrink with comparison. It enlarges with shared joy. I remember cheering for someone whose success once felt like a mirror of my own failures. Standing with them felt risky at first. Then it felt freeing. Their joy did not steal my breath. It returned a space to mine. Celebrating truth became a way to practice trust. The final qualities protecting, trusting, hoping, persevering move love from a feeling into steady action. Protecting is a daily habit of looking out for the fragile. Trusting means giving space for growth without constant suspicion. Hoping keeps the mind toward a future that holds good things. Persevering is continuing care when care looks small and unseen. I picture a gardener who tends one plant through a hard winter. The work is slow and often invisible. No one applauds the daily pruning. Yet by spring the plant stands taller. That steady tending is love in habit. It protects the tender bud, trusts in slow growth, hopes for bloom, and keeps going through cold nights. How has this love shaped my life? It entered me chiefly through other people who chose these small acts. A teacher who stayed after class to set a paper right. A neighbor who mended a fence without announcing it. A friend who listened when explanation failed. Those acts taught me how to love by showing the pace and scale of it. Once, when my own hope felt brittle, a person offered practical patience. They did not rush answers. They sat with my questions until the questions wore softer edges. That patient presence taught me how to wait with kindness. It taught me that love often looks like staying, not fixing. Another time, forgiveness landed as a steady hand. An apology came in a folded note, and a small errand. The response was gentle. It did not waylay truth. It did not cheapen repair. It opened a small door that allowed trust to return slowly. The experience softened a guarded heart. It taught that love keeps no record of wrongs because it prefers repair to triumph. These memories are not trophies. They are tools. They guide how to act tomorrow. They remind me that love is less an emotion and more a practice. It is the repetition of small mercies. It is the choosing each day to be patient, to be kind, to forget the ledger, and to hold steady when others stumble. For tonight, if the heart is tired and the mind keeps a busy accounting, try a simple practice with me. Place a hand over the place where breath is felt most. Breathe in slowly. On the out-breath, whisper one small quality patient. Breathe again. Whisper kind. Repeat with two more trusting. Hopeful. Let each word be a small seed planted in the chest. No need for cleverness. No need for long sentences. The habit is enough. Another small practice is to name one person you can bless tomorrow with a tiny act. A warm mug left on a doorstep. A brief message that says, without pressure, I see you. Choose one small thing. It need not be perfect. It need not solve all pains. The act itself trains the heart to become like the love that guarded me in night and in cold. I pray a little now, with words soft and spare. Ask for the patience to wait. Ask for a kindness that does not expect a return. Ask for courage to forgive, not because pride demands it, but because mercy heals. Keep the prayer brief. Let it sit like a small stone on a table. Let the room breathe around it. If shame or regret rises, remember the gardener and the returned wallet and the friend who stayed. Love moves in practical ways. It is not a far idea. It is a near practice. It is found in one honest sentence of confession, and in a dozen small meals shared over time. The lamp beside the book is low now. The night leans in. If sleep finds you, let these simple qualities wash the edges of worry. If wakefulness remains, let the breath be steady and the hand rest on the heart. Keep the word patient on the out-breath. Keep kind on the next. I close this part with an invitation. Choose one gentle quality of love to practice tomorrow. Keep it small. Do it without announcement. Let the habit begin in quiet. Over time. The small acts shape a life. They make rooms warm. They make paths gentler. They teach us how to love and be loved. In return, we will read again soon. The page waits. The lamp keeps its watch. Rest now under the quiet rhythm of patient, kind love. Let it guard the heart tonight. I turn the page and let the lamp throw a small pool of light. My thumb rests where the paper bends. The house loosens. The night listens. I read a line from the letter to Thessalonica. I do not say every word. I give the sense. Rejoice often. Keep prayer near. Give thanks in all things. The phrases land like soft stones. Each one finds a quiet place in the chest. Prayer here is not a long speech. It is a steady habit. It is like a small radio that stays tuned to a friendly station. It hums under the day. It hums under the night. The hum does not drown worry. It keeps company with it. Hold that idea for a moment. Rejoicing often is not a shout. It is a gentle noticing, a memory that warms, a small truth that returns. It is finding a single bright thing and setting it on the table of the mind. Keep it there for a breath. Let it glow. Prayer without ceasing sounds impossible at first. The phrase does not demand endless words. It invites a way of living with a door open. Say a short sentence between tasks. Pause and breathe a single name. Keep a simple phrase on the out-breath. The practice stitches the day into a fabric of attention. Giving thanks in all circumstances is not thanking hardship itself. It is finding the thread of mercy within the difficulty. It is naming a breath, a hand offered, a small food shared. Gratitude narrows focus to what sustains. It does not pretend that pain is absent. It names the light next to the pain. I remember a season when the house felt too full of noise. Work had ended unexpectedly. A relationship sat bruised on the shelf. The mind rehearsed the long list of what had gone wrong. Nights were the hardest. The dark made questions lewder. Sleep came in short visits. That autumn, I began a small practice. Each night I read a short passage. Then I let my fingers rest on the page and breathe. I spoke one short prayer. Often it was only 3 quiet words. The practice did not solve the bills. It did not fix every strained word. It changed the way evenings moved. Neighbors began to notice the kettle on the step. Hands were offered for little repairs. A friend brought a pot of soup. A sibling sent a line that said, simply, "Thinking of you." These acts looked small. Each one arrived with patience and without demand. Together they reshaped the edges of the day. Love had a practical shape in those weeks. It was someone staying on a bench while a late-night conversation wandered into honest territory. It was a neighbor turning back across the street because they had thought of an extra blanket. It was a set of hands taking up a task until the strength returned. The acts were steady and calm. Prayer and these acts met in a quiet way. The nightly habit of a short prayer made hearing small kindnesses easier. The ears that had been tuned to complaint began to hear offers of help. Gratitude found tiny things to celebrate. Rejoicing returned as a simple practice, like polishing a small lamp each evening. One night stands out. Tension had been thick all day. Voices had been soft and sharp in turns. The chest tightened. The old patterns of shame and blame circled like hawks. After the children were asleep, silence fell heavy and thin. I sat with the book and read the short saying again, "Rejoice often. Keep prayer near. Give thanks." The words felt like a small push. I breathed, and then I acted in a way that looked foolish at first. A hand reached out. A small note was left on a table. No long explanations. No great performances. Just the naming of one short regret and an offer to try another way tomorrow. The response came not as fireworks. It came as a slow thaw. A hand returned the note. A kettle was warmed. The next day, the work of repair looked like ordinary chores done together. The large pain did not vanish overnight. It softened in the presence of steady kindness. That softness was the work of love, shown through action, patience, and kindness. Prayer kept me steady through that time. It was the quiet habit that carried attention back to what was good. Saying one brief sentence before sleep made the heart notice the next small mercy. It was not magic. It was training. The muscles of gratitude grew the way any muscle does, through repeated small moves. There is power in giving thanks in the middle of trouble. It does not ignore the trouble. It reframes what is true in the moment. Instead of cataloguing faults, I learned to list small gifts: a neighbor's light by the window, a friend remembering a name, the taste of tea shared with someone who listens. These details do not erase the wound, but they produce a landscape where healing can begin. Prayer without ceasing looks different during hardship. It becomes short vows. A one-sentence offering as soon as the phone rings. A breath that carries a name. A tiny petition at the sink. These small things are like placing pebbles along the path, so the feet do not slip. They do not fix the path, but they help the walker keep going. Rejoicing often becomes an act of will when days are hard. It is deciding to notice a single bright thing. It can be ugly at first. The mind protests. The heart argues. Still, choose one small joy. Let it be the anchor for the next breath. Repeat until the practice softens the edges. The community that gathered around those nights showed what love truly means. It was not dramatic. It was not loud. It was consistent. A neighbor who mends a fence, a friend who returns a call, a stranger who offers a spare seat on the bus. These acts were prayers shaped as hands. They answered the small requests that went unspoken. One Sunday, months into that time, a great moment came. The house felt different by degrees. The workload had shifted. The relationship was not healed completely. But new patterns had formed. Gratitude had a place at the table again. Rejoicing was not bright, but it was real. In that moment, prayer seemed less like a ritual and more like company. The habit of speaking short prayers became the thread that connected the acts of others. Prayers joined with hands and meals and patient listening. Together they made a fabric large enough to carry a future. There is an old practice I keep for nights like these. It is short and simple. Place a hand where the breath is felt most. Breathe in slowly for 3 counts. Breathe out twice as long. In the quiet between breaths, name one thing to be thankful for. Keep the naming brief. Let the thank you be like a small lamp set on the sill. Then, if it helps, say one thin sentence of prayer. It may be asking for patience. It may be offering thanks. It may be a request for courage to do the next small thing. Keep the sentence spare. Let the words be like pebbles dropped into still water. Watch the ripples spread and then rest. I have learned that prayer changes things by changing the heart. It does not always rearrange the map. It steadies the one who walks it. When the heart is steadier, the acts that follow are clearer. Patience becomes possible. Kindness returns to the hands. Decisions move from panic into care. Love, shown in small acts, does the rest. When someone lays a blanket across tired shoulders, the language of mercy is translated into warmth. When a neighbor brings an extra meal, the theology of grace becomes a bowl on the table. Prayer keeps attention open, so these acts can be seen and received. Tonight, if the worry presses near, try the small practice with me. Put a slow hand over the heart. Breathe. Name one thing to rejoice in. Say one short sentence of prayer. Offer a simple thanks for some small mercy. Let the breath carry the words into the night. The Bible's instruction is not a harsh demand. It is a gentle urging to keep the inner light lit. Rejoice often. Keep prayer near. Give thanks. These are habits that calm the mind and steady the hands. They invite love to find its practical form. As the lamp grows lower, let this be the place to rest. The house breathes. The page closes softly. Carry one small gratitude into sleep. If seeking repair is needed tomorrow, act in patient kindness. Let prayer and simple deeds walk together. I will read again soon. For now, sleep if it comes. If wakefulness remains, keep the breath steady. Let the quiet prayers sit like small lamps. Let love, shown by patient hands and steady presence, change what it can. The night watches with us. The light stays on a little while longer. 2. Strength in weakness. I settle the book open and rest my thumb on the thin page. The lamp keeps a small circle of light. The night leans close. I speak in the same slow tone. The thought I carry now is simple. Strength sometimes comes by a different road. It arrives through places that feel weak. A line from an old letter says that grace is enough, and power is often perfected in our weakness. I do not say the verse word for word. I offer its sense. The idea comforts like a warm cloth. It does not demand proof. It asks only for a small acceptance, a truth that reads, you need not pretend strength where none exists. A greater strength will meet you there. Notice how the phrase works. When a vessel is cracked, light can enter the place that was thought broken. The light does not ignore the crack. It travels through it in much the same way. When hands are small and tired, a different kind of strength can fill them. That strength is not vanity. It is not a show. It is steady and patient. It fits into the loosened space and holds without shame. I speak of weakness kindly. The word is not a verdict. It is an invitation. Weakness names the places where a person runs out of answers. It points to the edges where human effort thins. Those edges are not failures. They are doors. Through them, help often comes that would not be noticed otherwise. Imagine a candle in a dim room. The flame is small. It is not boastful. The light makes soft shapes on the wall. In that gentle glow, the room changes. Small tasks become possible again. Strength is like that small flame. It does not have to be bright to be real. Even a faint light guides the footstep away from the sharp stone. I bring a quiet memory forward now. There was a season when nights felt heavy and long. Work stretched late. A home worry refused to settle. Sleep came in short bursts. The chest wore a persistent tightness. Pride had a way of telling me to keep everything tidy and solved. That pride only widened the loneliness. One night, worn out, I sat with the book and breathed slowly. I did not craft a long prayer. I named a single thing that felt too heavy to carry. I asked very small for a bit of help, to hold on. The words were brief and clumsy. They mattered because they were honest. The asking was a surrender, in miniature. After that small prayer, things did not change like a flashing sign. The bills still needed paying. The worries still waited. Yet the next morning, a neighbor left a bowl on the step. A friend sent a quiet message that read like company. A slow answer arrived to a problem that had seemed closed. The combined smallness of these acts altered the weight. It did not vanish. It softened. Prayer did not prove itself by magic. It proved itself by opening a hand to receive what was near. The act of naming the need made room for others to bring help. It also made room for a different strength to settle in the chest. Instead of relying on a solitary stubbornness, the days began to include a shared strength. It moved through the ordinary warm bread, returned calls. A hand put on a shoulder without grand speeches. That night taught a clear lesson. Weakness can be the place where strength grows. It is not that weakness is desired. It is simply honest. Admitting a lack of strength invites mercy. It makes the person ready to accept help that would otherwise be refused out of pride. Opening the hand is not failure. It is a way to find steady help. The passage I read tonight encourages this practice gently. It says that the strain of burdens can be lightened when someone stops pretending to carry everything alone. The idea is not to avoid responsibility. It is to allow strength to be shared. The world becomes less like a field where a single body must labor, and more like a room where hands come together to lift a load. There is a simple exercise I offer in such hours. Place a hand over the place where the breath is felt most. Breathe slowly in for 3 counts. Hold a moment. Breathe out for twice as long. Name silently one small need. Keep the sentence very short. Release it. Stay still and listen. Often, help arrives not as a thunderclap, but as a string of small mercies. They quiet the fear and steady the limbs. I speak also of proud suffering. Sometimes the heart hides pain behind a neat face. It thinks endurance earns worth. That is a wearying belief. It asks much and gives little back. When that belief loosens, the entire posture toward life changes. Asking for mercy is not an admission that worth is lost. It is an acceptance that worth is already present. Even when the hands are shaking, in other nights, weakness is intimate and raw. Illness sits close. A loss feels new. The mind may circle questions with no easy answer. In those hours, the promise that strength can come through weakness becomes solace. It assures that vulnerability is not a sign of being cast off. Instead, it becomes a ground where compassion rests and grows. I remember a hospital waiting room. A different night. The clock moved slowly. The body of worry felt sharp and close. I did not have words for everything that sat in the chest. I breathed and offered a short prayer. Not for a tidy fix, but for steady presence. A nurse moved with gentle care. A small child brought a drawing slipped under a door. The drawing was nothing grand. It was a bright scribble and a clumsy heart. Yet the sight of that simple care softened the waiting. Strength came in quiet, practical ways. Small acts like that matter. They do not erase sorrow. They make the heavy things more bearable. They teach that power sometimes comes through hands that mend bowls, through voices that hold a name, through people who choose to sit without a script. The presence of these acts becomes a kind of strength. It arrives where the solitary spirit has run thin. This is why the scriptural line about power being perfected in weakness feels not abstract but very near. It says that the meeting of our honest lack and a greater sustaining presence produces a strength that is different from mere human resilience. It is gentler. It does not boast. It allows for rest. It equips the weary to continue, not by wearing a braver face, but by accepting a supporting hand. To live with this thought, practice small honesty. Name a tired place once a day. Tell one trusted person when the load feels too heavy. Leave a note asking for help. Do not expect dramatic solutions. Trust small things. Let the help come in stations a call, a meal, a quiedri bear. These small things form a scaffold. When shame creeps in, soften to the memory of the lamp that keeps its steady glow. Weakness is not a brand. It is a wound that needs dressing. Mercy is the bandage and the steady hand. The bandage does not claim that the wound never happened. It simply prevents infection and allows healing. In the quiet I invite now. Breathe again. Place the hand over the heart. Breathe slowly. If a single need comes to mind, name it softly. Do not try to fix it immediately. Let the naming be the beginning of a handing over, then remain still. Listen for small answers. They will come in ordinary forms. I will offer a brief prayer out loud in my own way, short and spare. It asks that strength meet where weakness sits. It asks mercy to be practical. It asks for hands that will come to help without demand or fanfare. The prayer is small. It is not a dramatic theatre. It is a soft request spoken into the night. Tonight, if the muscles are weary or the mind circles the same worry, let this be permission. Permission to breathe. Permission to name the need. Permission to accept the help offered. The face of strength here is not always heroic. Sometimes it is a neighbor's bowl left warm on the step. Sometimes it is a friend who brings silence and a cup of tea. Sometimes it is the simple knowledge that admitting lack opens a door to belonging. I close this part with a small encouragement. Keep the breath slow. Hold the hand on the heart a little longer. Let the imagination rest on the image of a lamp in a dim room. Allow the light to do its quiet work. Remember that power often comes through the cracks, and that weakness can be the place where mercy enters most fully. We will read again soon. For now, rest in the thought that you do not have to be strong alone. The house hums. The lamp stays steady. The night listens. Let the peace that comes with this truth settle into the shoulders and quiet the breath. I settle the book on my knee. The lamp makes a soft pool on the page. My thumb marks the place. I speak in a low voice. The room listens. You are here. The night leans close. There is a line in the Psalms that says the word acts like a lamp and a light for the road. I do not read it out loud, word for word. I give it sense. The Bible is like a small lamp put beside a path. It does not flood the world with glare. It shows the next footstep. It makes the immediate way clear. That is enough. Imagine you walk a thin path at dusk. The air is cool. Mist gathers low. One small lamp hangs near the trailhead. It is not a lighthouse on the cliff. It is a handheld lamp. It throws light a few feet ahead. The ground underfoot is revealed step by step. You do not need to see the entire valley. You need only the next step to trust your feet. I read to you in that way. Each phrase is a lamp kept low to the ground. It does not demand that the mind solve everything. It opens one small space. Breathe. Let that word be the light for one more step. I picture another scene. A quiet ship moves through an uncharted corridor of stars. Outside, darkness presses. Inside, the navigator lights a single instrument lamp. The instrument does not show every star. It marks a narrow course. The crew moves slowly by that light. They do not rush. They follow the gentle glow and trust the instrument for the next turn. The lamp is enough for now. This image sits soft against the night. The cosmic scene is only a possibility. It is not a lesson in technology. It is an invitation to imagine how guidance works. Guidance often arrives in one small, practical light. It points. And then we take the next step. The word guides in the same humble way. It speaks of steady things. It names simple truth. It calls the heart back from a tangled thought to a plain good. When a decision feels large, the lamp helps choose the next small action. It does not always resolve the whole map. It clarifies the step right ahead. I remember a night when choices felt like many doors. The house had decisions waiting in every room. Often, the mind tries to see every outcome at once. That night, I carried a small book to the kitchen and read a line that acted like a lamp. The sentence was plain. It asked for an honest next step. I took it. I made one phone call. I wrote one short note. The heavier plans remained. The next day, another small light helped again. The weight did not vanish in a single moment. It lifted by degrees. The lamp guided through increments. It showed the path, inch by inch. The practice I offer is simple and quiet. Sit where you are. Place a soft lamp within reach. Close the eyes if it helps. Breathe. Feel the body in the chair. Picture a path before you. Place a small light at your feet. See how it brightens the next few steps. Name a single small action you could take tomorrow that would help. Keep it brief. Let the light rest on that step. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let the light steady the thought. I use that habit often. The Bible's words become a lamp when they are kept close and read slowly. Not every sentence needs to be remembered. One phrase that settles in the chest is enough for the next step. Treat that phrase like a lamp. Keep it near. Let it guide the foot to the place that must be tended next. Guidance through the word also shows how to move in the dark when fear grows loud. Fear likes to imagine cliffs and chasms. The lamp does not deny the cliffs. It does not pretend darkness is absent. It simply lights a narrow, safe path. When fear seems to pull the mind into wild futures, return to the small lamp. Ask one simple question: what is the next honest thing I can do? Then do it. I speak of honesty because guidance is practical. It does not ask for heroic leaps. It asks for truthful steps. A truth named plainly reduces the chaos. An ounce of clarity helps you choose food, or rest, or a kind word. The lamp is not an answer to every why. It is help for one foot at a time. If you keep this practice, you will notice small changes. Steps become less hesitant. The mind stops racing to fix everything at once. A habit grows of looking down to see the next footfall. This habit is restful. It replaces anxious planning with attentive walking. It teaches a patience that is not idle. It is active calm. There is also a tenderness in this guidance. The lamp in the path knows the traveler is tired. It does not judge the pace. It simply gives enough light to keep walking without stumbling. That kindness matters. A harsh command to hurry often makes the muscles tighten. A small, steady light invites slow, measured steps. When the mind pores over past failures, the lamp can help with repair. Read a short passage. Let one sentence name what needs mending. Then do one small, practical thing that points toward repair. It might be a note left, a small task completed, a call made. The lamp shows the way to practical reconciliation. It keeps the steps honest and kind. I will guide a breathing exercise now. Keep the lamp near. Place one hand where the breath is felt. Breathe in slowly for 3 counts. Picture the lamp at your feet. Breathe out for 6 counts. As the breath leaves, imagine the lamp moving forward a few steps. Repeat twice more. Each breath is a step. Each step is lit. This simple rhythm becomes a pattern. It steadies the nerves and aligns action with calm. The lamp also teaches about trust. Trust is not a sudden leap. It is the willingness to step where light is given. Sometimes the path ahead is still uncertain. The darkness remains beyond the lamp's reach. Trust the small light. Let it carry you a little further. Often, a second lamp will meet you around the bend. People, moments, acts of mercy appear when the first step is taken. There is a quiet story in town. An elderly man used to walk home from the market at dusk. He kept a little lantern. Children sometimes asked why he carried it below its need. He said the light was for himself and for anyone who might come after. On some nights, a neighbor found their way by that small glow. On others, the lantern made the man's steps sure. The lamp was simple. It served both giver and seeker. The word acts similarly when read gently and shared. The Bible's guidance is not mechanical. It is relational. It is a lamp provided by a steady presence. The light meets the feet where they stand. It moves with care. It invites listening. The voice that reads it to you is also part of that care. I read because we make the path together. My voice keeps the lamp low and patient. It does not flash excitement. It offers rhythm. It keeps the next step in sight. If worries wake tonight, try this. Imagine the lamp again. Name one small, practical thing you can do before morning. Keep it very small. Put the light on that step. Breathe. Rest the mind on the notion that guidance is available. It comes as a steady light, not as a sudden revelation. Let the lamp stay with you as you drift towards sleep. I offer a short, simple sentence of prayer. Now, ask for the quiet light to show the next step. Ask for courage to walk where the lamp leads. Ask for patience if the whole path is still hidden. Keep the prayer brief. Let it rest like a soft ember. Before I close, I invite a small practice for tomorrow. In the morning, place a small lamp or a candle on the table. Read one short line from the book. Let it be your lamp for the day. When decisions come, return to that small light. Ask what is the next honest step. Take it. Repeat. The habit turns walking into an ordered mercy. The lamp on the page is still where it was when we began. The house breathes. The night keeps its hush. If sleep arrives, let this image carry you a small lamp lighting the next footstep. If wakefulness remains, return to the breath and to the hand at the heart. Keep the phrase that settled most tonight, like a lamp in the pocket. I close the book slowly. The page is folded and patient. My voice lowers further. The lamp stays lit. We will read again soon. For now, rest under the gentle light. Let it guide one step at a time. Let that be enough. I turn the page, so the lamplight touches the edges. My thumb keeps the place. The room listens. Tonight I speak of letting go. I carry a line from Isaiah gently. It asks not to be stuck on what was. It invites attention toward what is being made new. I tell it in plain words. Forget the former things. Do not live in yesterday's shadow. Look for the new way that opens. The idea sits like a soft instruction. It is not a command that sharpens into guilt. It is an invitation that breathes. Imagine a path covered in autumn leaves. Each step squishes and hides the stone beneath. If the walker keeps staring at the leaves, the next foot may stumble. If the eyes lift, the path shows a clearer line. The scripture offers that same lifting. I read these words to you because the night leans toward memory. Sleep tends to pull up old scenes. The mind replays small humiliations. It replays regrets. It circles the same worn track. That is human. The book I read suggests another way. It asks for a simple shift. Notice the past for what it is. Then let the hand open. I do not say that the past is unimportant. It teaches. It warns. It shapes the body of the present. But the past does not define the horizon. It does not take the place of the sunrise. Holding on to hurt makes a narrow room inside the chest. Letting go opens a window. Picture a river at dusk. Small leaves tumble into the current. They do not do anything dramatic. They float. The water does what it does, and the leaves find a new course. The river does not erase the leaf's shape. It changes where the leaf goes. Letting go is like placing the leaf in the water. The letting is not forgetting the leaf. It is trusting the tide. I have a memory I return to when the mind clings. Once a letter sat folded in a drawer for years. It carried a sharp word and a name I loved. The paper kept its weight in the chest. One night I held the letter and read it slowly. I did not burn it theatrically. I did not throw it away in anger. I read. I breathed. And I set it on the sill. The next morning, light made the paper look like a thin thing. I folded it again differently. I tucked it beneath a small stone on the windowsill. The act felt small. It changed the position of the memory. The sharpness eased by a fraction. That fraction mattered. Letting go often looks like small gestures. A changed corner of the room. A new habit. A different bedtime routine. These acts do not erase what happened. They rearrange the furniture of the heart so there is room for a fresh morning. The scripture I hold tonight says God makes a road in the wilderness. When the wild inside has crowded every mile, a way appears. The new thing might be quiet. It might be a practical kindness. It might be a gentle shift of attention. It arrives where the heart is ready to receive it. I offer a practice for the present hour. Place one hand over the center of the chest. Feel the breath press the palm. Breathe in for 3 slow counts. Hold 1 small beat. Breathe out for 6. As you exhale, picture the most repeated hurt like a small pebble in the palm. Imagine smoothing the pebble with the breath. Do not judge the pebble. Name it softly, the word. The scene. The ache. Let the naming be simple. Say it in the mind, and then let the breath carry it away. Repeat once or twice. Each breath loosens the whole. After that, imagine a small door ahead. It is painted simply. The hinges are well oiled. Step forward and open it. Behind the door lies something new, a small room with a lamp. The lamp is not a glaring flood. It is steady and kind. Place the palm on the lamp's base. Feel warmth. Carry one small image of hope into sleep. It can be an ordinary thing, a neighbor's kindness, a warmzap, a word that once soothed. Let that image be a seed for tomorrow. If the past contains harm done by another, the letting go looks different. The choice to release does not mean excusing. It means refusing to allow the wound to rule the whole life. One can choose repair when repair is possible. One can choose boundaries when they are needed. Letting go is not a single motion of bravery. It is a daily choosing of what will hold the attention. There is mercy in ordinary repair, a measured apology, a patient listening, a changed pattern. These are the small hands that mend. The Scripture's promise of new things is not a promise of instant erasure. It promises renewal that arrives in patient steps. A mended fence still shows where boards were replaced. That visible seam is not shame. It is a record of work done. If the pain is private and the road to repair is not clear, begin with small self-tending. A warm cloth on the neck, a little note that names a need rest. Kindness. Space. Set the note somewhere it can be seen in the morning. The small ritual signals to the body that something has shifted. Rituals teach the muscles how to carry gentleness. I keep my sentences short now, so the heart can settle. Each short sentence is a soft footfall. Move slowly through this suggestion. Tonight, pick one thing from the past that wakes you most. Keep it small. A single insult. One evening, a repeated worry. Say its name softly to the dark. Then imagine that thing set on a little boat. Place it in a gentle current. Watch it drift beyond the bend. Forgiveness sometimes appears in the same paragraph as letting go. They are relatives, not twins. Forgiveness may be offered to another. It may also be a gift one gives to oneself. The book I read says forgiveness heals the carrier as much as the forgiven. That does not mean forgetting. It means carrying the past in a softer hand. A nightly practice makes the work manageable. Read one brief line from the Bible. Do not force deep comprehension. Let the sentence be a lamp for one thought. Breathe. Name the past thing. Lay it down with the breath. Think of one small practical move for tomorrow that nudges the life a little forward. It could be a single call, one errand, a moment of fresh air. Keep the move small. Do not aim to solve everything at once. Healing from the past keeps a slow rhythm. No dramatic leaps are needed. The body learns to trust new patterns by repetition. A week of small changes makes space. A month reveals a new outline. The Scripture's promise of a new thing often means a slow rearrangement. The heart is patient when given small, repeated kindnesses. Some nights, the past insists anyway. It returns like a recurring dream. When it comes, greet it gently. Offer one short prayer. The prayer does not need to be long. It can be one line like a soft bell. Ask for the courage to let the old image rest. Ask for the eyes to notice what is being made new. Keep the prayer spare. Let it echo in the quiet, Do not mistake letting go for ignoring boundaries. When a wound is fresh, courage sometimes looks like keeping safe distance. Letting go means releasing the hold that pain has on the present. It also means tending the wounds with wise care. The Scripture's new way is not reckless. It is a careful path through a wild place. I share one small scene from my life again. After a long season of carrying a regret, I started keeping a small jar on the windowsill. Each evening I wrote one brief line, one small regret or worry, and folded the paper thin. I did not burn the paper. I did not hide it permanently. I simply placed it in the jar and shut the lid. On hard nights I looked at the jar and remembered that the weight had been named. The naming itself eased the shoulders. Over weeks, the jar filled. It became a quiet record, not of failure, but of daily courage. That tiny habit taught me that release can be ordinary and steady. Let the new things be ordinary and steady as well. A changed morning routine, a neighbor's knock, a fresh route to the market. These small departures become evidence of a different life. They show that God's new way often arrives through human kindness and practical shifts. I invite you now to choose one small act for tonight. It may be the breathing practice I described. It may be placing a folded paper into a jar. It may be a short line of prayer, whispered before sleep. Choose a single gentle thing. Make it simple. Let it be a sign that tomorrow can include new light. If hands are steadier after a small ritual, act gently toward yourself in the morning. Do not expect fireworks. Look instead for a single small difference, a quieter thought, a softer memory, a willingness to speak kindly. Celebrate that smallness. It is the place where big changes begin. I end this part with a soft invitation. Close the page. Lay a hand over the chest. Breathe slowly. Name one past thing that still holds you. Place it in a small image of a flowing river or a jar on the sill. Let the breath carry it away. Then, find one small thing to welcome tomorrow. Keep it simple. Let the night receive the letting go. Allow the new thing to begin. Small and sure, like a lamp set at the start of a path. The lamp beside the book stays lit. The house breathes. Rest now, and let a gentle newness find its room in the heart. We will read again soon. The path is made step by step. The next one waits with light. I open the book and let the light rest on the page. My thumb keeps the place. I read in a slow voice. Tonight I hold a passage that speaks of becoming new. The idea is plain. In Christ, old things change their shape. The past does not hold the final word. Something fresh can begin. I do not quote the line exactly. I give it sense. A life that was closed in on itself can loosen. The worn places can be made soft again. The old story does not vanish like a dream at dawn. It shifts. A new thread runs through the fabric. The promise is quiet. It says change is possible. It says renewal waits at the edges of a tired heart. I remember a time when I thought the person I was could not change. The past felt heavy. Choices and regrets sat like stones in a bag carried too long. I had learned how to hold them so tightly that the hands forgot how to open. Nights were the worst. The mind arranged the stones in neat piles. Sleep slipped away. One autumn night I read this passage and felt something small move. The sentence landed like rain on hot ground. I did not rush to believe it. I did not dash into a sudden overhaul. I simply listened. That listening opened a crack. Through that crack, a different light came in. Letting go began as a very small habit. I put down one stone at a time. A name was spoken into the dark. A short apology was written on a folded scrap and left at a doorstep. A phone call asked for help with a task instead of pretending everything was fine. None of these acts seemed grand. Each felt like a pebble chosen for its rightness. The first change was bodily. The shoulders stopped climbing toward the ears during the day. A simple breath in the quiet became deeper. The jaw unclenched more often. These small changes mattered because the body keeps its own memory. When the muscles release, the mind follows. When the chest relaxes, the heart finds room to remember kindness. A neighbor's small kindness helped. They knocked at my door with a cup of stew. There was no sermon attached. The gesture was plain and steady. It did what gestures do when offered without demand. It warmed a cold evening. It loosened the hold of the past inside me by showing that care arrives without a ledger. Grace can be practical that way. A pattern of small, steady acts shaped the deeper change. I started to name an identity that was not tied only to failures. I practiced, saying a short phrase each night. It was not long or clever. It simply reminded me of who I was becoming. The phrase sat close to the heart and moved the old narrative a few degrees. Repetition made the new shape feel less foreign. Habit is the quiet work of transformation. Renewal also found its way through honest repair. I mended an old table that had split in a move years before. The work was slow and careful. Sanding the surface took time. Each stroke removed a thin layer of roughness. The wood did not become new in a moment. It became usable again through patient tending. The table stands now in the kitchen, showing fine seams where it was joined. Those seams tell a better story than the neatness of pretending nothing broke. They say we repaired this together. A relationship that had grown thin gradually thickened again. The first evenings were awkward. The voice remembers the wrong and wants to rehearse it. We chose instead to share small tasks and simple talk. We washed dishes together, slow and steady. Later, a laugh arrived in the middle of a sentence and surprised us both. Renewal does not always come to the applause of the world. It often arrives in the ordinary, a cup poured, a walk taken, a mailed parcel that says, simply, I thought of you. The change inside me was not only an axe, it was also in the way I read the Bible at night. Reading became less a task of extracting answers and more a practice of receiving. I let the words sit on the chest like a warm cloth. I paused between lines and felt how the silence made room for something else to move. That silence often carried the quiet assurance that identity is offered, not earned. There is a tenderness in this promise of newness. It does not call for an immediate rewrite of life. It invites small shifts, a breath that is slower, a hand that reaches before pride pulls back, a prayer that is 3 words long. Spoken into the dark, these are the instruments of renewal. I recall a night when doubt returned like a familiar visitor. The mind rehearsed old falls with sharp precision. I placed a palm on the center of my chest. I breathed slowly. I named one small thing I could do the next day to live differently. The naming felt like a soft hinge. The decision did not remove the past. It simply oriented the next step. The day that followed was not perfect. It did contain one different choice. That choice multiplied quietly over weeks. Renewal often shows as a softening of the interior voice. Where once the inner language was a strict accounting, now there is, at times, a kinder question. Which small habit will honor this life? Which tiny act will mend the corner of a relationship? This gentle curiosity changes how days are lived. It replaces the noise of self-accusation with a steady attention to what is humane and true. I share this because transformation in Christ looks like ordinary healing. It is not a spectacle. It is a rearrangement of the small things that shape a life. The Bible's image of being new is not an abstract label. It is a new way to tuck the shirt, to answer a call, to set a bowl on the table. These simple moves are where the promise becomes flesh. There are moments when fear returns, or old grief presses close. Renewal is not a guarantee against pain. It is a promise that pain does not have the last word. There will be nights of return and mornings that feel unchanged. In those hours, the practice is the same. Take one small step. Tend one broken thing. Speak one short, honest sentence. Let the breath carry it. Keep the rhythm. I offer a small practice for the night. Place a hand where you feel the breath most. Breathe in slowly for 3 counts. Hold briefly. Breathe out for 6 counts. On the next in-breath, think of one small change you can make tomorrow. Keep it simple. A short call. A tiny errand. A kind gesture. On the out-breath, let any shame loosen a little. Picture the old things being carried away on a small current. Do not force the current. Trust it to move. I will read a brief prayer now. The words are spare. They ask that the renewal offered might touch the tired places. They ask that the courage to do small things come without pressure. The prayer is a quiet hand placed over the chest. It is not a loud demand. It is a plea for steady change. I am the one who reads these words to you before bed. I do not promise instant transformation. I promise steady company. I promise a light kept low and patient. If you are weary of carrying old weights, let this night be a small place of beginning. Let one tiny action tomorrow be the first stitch of a new cloth. Rest now. Let the idea of newness breathe into the ribs. Let the lamp beside the book keep its steady glow. If sleep comes, let these thoughts drift into dreams like soft seeds. If wakefulness remains, keep the hands gentle on the heart and name one small thing to change. Renewal often begins in a single honest step. We will read again soon. The page waits. The house listens. The promise of becoming new rests near, quiet and sure. Let it form in small acts. Let it arrive like early spring slow, patient and alive. I touch the page and feel the paper warm a little from the lamp. My voice is low. The night listens. Tonight I bring a passage from the Psalms that pictures safety under wings. I do not read it word for word. I tell its meaning in plain language. The image is small and steady. It is like a bird folding itself around a young one. It tells of shelter and of rest. A memory opens as I speak. Years ago, I sit in a drafty room while a storm moves through the valley. Rain hammers the panes. Wind finds the loose seams of the old house. A small child sleeps on a bed that creaks. Aparen moves quietly, not to disturb, and spreads a blanket wide. The blanket slips low like a wing. The child's breathing slows. The room becomes a safer place for a time. That simple motion is the picture I carry now. It is the kind of safety that is not flashy. It is the kind that keeps vigil. The biblical image of wings is not a promise that all fear disappears. It is a promise of presence that meets fear and holds it. The feathers do not take away every storm. They keep the heart from being torn. They make a place where the ears can hear calm. That calm is not a polished triumph. It is a steady, small mercy that comes close when the night grows long. Listen with the body. Place a hand where the breath is felt most. Breathe slowly. Picture a wide wing lowering like a shade. The feather edges are soft. They do not push. They enfold. The spaces between the feathers hold warmth and quiet. A person who is tired rests differently when a steady hand rests on the shoulder. This is the same kind of care, only deeper. It is the kind that steadies the pulse and makes a single breath feel enough. I think of a traveler stranded on a road at dusk. Tires thrum in the empty place. The sky is low and the map looks uncertain. A farmhouse light is on. A door opens. The host offers a small room and a bowl of stew. No questions are pressed. No long explanations are required. The traveler is given a place to hang a coat, to set down the bag, to be still. This is a human echo of the shelter the psalm speaks of. The ancient words point to a refuge that looks like a neighbor who will not turn away. That neighbor may be a person, a place, or a quiet presence that arrives when the mind grows loud. Safety under wings also has a particular quietness. It does not shout that danger is not real. It whispers that danger need not be the final word. It changes the posture of the body. The shoulders come down a fraction. The jaw softens. The hands unclench. The mind stills its rush toward frantic plans. Shelter gives permission to be small. It offers a place to breathe without performance. There is a story I keep near that teaches how fragile refuge can be and how certain. Once, during a winter trip, an unexpected freeze strands a small group at a rural church. The building is unlocked by the caretaker. Space is offered on a single long bench. The people huddle together and share a thin blanket and hot tea from a kettle left on the stove. No grand words are spoken. There is a sort of invisible wing that passes between them. Someone hums a tune without meaning to, and the sound is like a stitch. The wind still howls outside, but inside a different rhythm keeps watch. That is the kind of shelter. The psalm hints at a presence that becomes practical through human hands. Practical shelter is often ordinary. A neighbor's porch light left on, a warm bowl set at a doorstep, a phone call that says nothing more than I am awake with you. These small acts are feathers in human life. They are how the promise moves into daily living. Mercy arrives not always in miracles, but in steady, reliable gestures that say you are not alone. Sometimes shelter means being allowed to be afraid. The wings do not rush to erase the trembling. They make room for it. When a person is permitted to show fear, the shaking is less likely to become an endless pattern. I have seen this in quiet places. A friend sits close and listens without trying to fix. The simple act of listening creates a safe chamber. Words that demand explanations are held back. The space becomes a nest where healing can begin. There are nights when uncertainty presses like fog. The future is thin with questions. Sleep seems distant. In those hours, the Psalm's image can be practiced as a small discipline. Close the eyes. Place both hands over the heart. Breathe in slowly and count to 3. Hold just a moment. Breathe out twice as long. With each exhale, imagine a feather laying across the shoulders. Picture it widening until a small canopy forms. Do this 3 times and notice the body respond. The breath will slow. The muscles will ease. The mind will find one quiet thing to hold. Refuge is also a steady responsibility. The protection offered is not a one-time rescue. It is an ongoing watch. The image of wings suggests continuous attention. A mother bird does not open her wings only once. She keeps watch on the nest over time. So does the safe presence remain. It is patient and faithful. It waits for the sleeper to wake. It waits for the weather to change. It does not vanish when the night looks long. At times the shelter will feel like a roof above a stormed roof. The world still moves rough. The shelter may be thin. It may be a canopy that leaks a little. Even then, the knowledge of being covered makes a difference. The mind that believes it has a place of hiding will not be rooted by every fear. The body learns to find a point of rest, even in imperfect protection. There is a humble prayer I use when the night presses. Ask simply for a place to be kept. The words do not have to be perfect. They can be the length of a single breath. Say it slowly, and then listen. Sometimes the answer is immediate. Other times it arrives through a small act the next morning. The practice teaches patience. It trains the heart in quiet expectation. Safety under wings also means companionship. To be sheltered is to be accompanied. A presence that covers with wings is not distant. It is near enough to touch. It takes some of the burden. It lifts a corner. It offers a soft, steady nearness that will not demand an explanation for every tear. Nearby company can be a friend who stays awake when the mind does. A hands-on neighbor who helps with practical tasks. Or a simple ritual kept at dusk that signals belonging. Those companions act as feathers, do layer upon layer, forming a protective fabric. There is one quiet narrative I return to when fear becomes loud. Years ago, a small child is separated from the family in a crowded place. The panic rises fast. A volunteer kneels and says nothing dramatic. She gathers the child in her arms, hums a small tune, and rocks slowly. The child is calm before the parents are found. The power of that calm is not found in searching words. It is found in the shield created by simple, steady care. That is the essence of a winged shelter. It steadies the smallest heart and makes a place for safety to return. The Psalm's image also gives permission to trust, not to pretend that all is understood, not to ignore legitimate dangers, but to trust that a caring presence watches more closely than any threat can keep vigil. This trust is practical. It helps to make decisions with less panic. It allows for careful steps rather than frantic sprints. If the chest is tight now, place a hand where the breath is felt. Breathe slowly again. Imagine a feather-soft canopy descending. Let the shoulders loosen. Count 3 slow breaths in this rhythm. With each out-breath, name one small practical comfort to receive tomorrow. Perhaps it is a warm drink, a short walk, a phone call to a neighbor. Keep the list small. The shelter under wings often shows itself through these modest things. I end this part with a short and steady encouragement. Safety under wings is not a quick fix. It is a way of living under a watchful, kind presence. It meets uncertainty with gentleness. It turns fear into a place where calm can come. Let the image rest in the chest tonight. Let it be the reason to slow the breath and to lay the head down. A short prayer follows in a plain voice. Ask for a sheltering presence tonight. Ask for a warmth that does not demand perfection. Ask for hands to arrive where needed. The prayer is brief. Sit quietly after it. Notice the room breathing. Feel the steady nearness that keeps watch. Sleep if it comes. If wakefulness remains, stay with the hand over the heart and the image of the wing. Know that safety is true in a particular way. The night is not left to wildness. It is kept. The wings are near. 14. Gratitude and contentment. I touch the page and feel the paper warm. The lamp makes a soft circle. My voice stays low. Tonight, I bring a passage that speaks of contentment, learned over time. I do not recite it word for word. I give it sense. Contentment is a lesson. It does not arrive fully formed. It grows by small rehearsals. The words say that learning contentment happens in many kinds of seasons. It mentions a strength that is not my own. It says that when my own resources thin, another strength meets me. That thought is simple. It is tender. I have learned the shape of contentment the hard way. Once, years ago, a sudden change narrowed the days. Plans closed like a door. Pride wanted to fix everything at once. Anxiety wanted loud answers. The mind rehearsed lists and reasons and what-ifs. The nights felt long and hollow. Sleep trusted nothing. A friend, quiet and steady, offered a way to practice something else. Not a lecture, not a strategy. A small habit. Each evening, find 3 small things to thank God for. Write them down on a scrap. They could be as slight as a warm hand. A kind note. A cup of tea shared. The rule was plain. Do it without trying to make the day into something it was not. Call nothing a miracle that did not feel like one. Name what was true. At first the list seemed thin. Gratitude felt forced, like trying to lift a weight that kept slipping. But the practice is patient. After a week, the memory of one generous action came easier. After a month, the habit felt less like a performance and more like a shift of attention. The chest softened. Sleep came in steadier visits. The heart learned to see mercy threaded through ordinary days. Contentment did not mean satisfaction with injustice. It did not erase pain. It simply taught a new posture. Instead of looking only at what was missing, my eyes learned to notice what was present. This does not cheapen sorrow. It makes space beside sorrow for small, sustaining things. The passage I read says, "Contentment is learned." It credits a source of strength beyond oneself. The phrase asks for humility. It invites the admission that human effort alone is not always enough. When that admission comes, a different power can be trusted to help carry the day. The idea is not a moral scolding. It is an offering. I keep the practice very simple now. Each evening, place a hand over the heart. Breathe in slowly for 3 counts. Breathe out for 6. Name 3 things to be thankful for. Say them quietly, in my own voice. They may be the same as yesterday. Repetition is allowed. Do not insist on novelty. The act itself trains the senses. Once, in a season of particular unrest, a small thing brought a deep peace. A neighbor left a jar of stewed fruit on the doorstep. No noite, no ceremony. The gesture was modest and unexpected. That single bowl of fruit warmed more than the body. It warmed the belief that someone saw the trouble. It was a kindness that cost little but said a great deal. Remembering that bowl became, for many nights, one of the 3 things named. It anchored a fragile peace. Gratitude practiced like this softens the interior voice that keeps tally. It reminds the mind that mercy often arrives by slow, human hands. It also opens the heart to contentment that does not depend on circumstances. The passage that inspired the habit is not proud. It says contentment is possible in many states, when plenty is present and when lack is near. The secret is not in circumstances. The secret is in reliance on a sustaining strength that meets weakness. I recommend a small nightly exercise for these hours. Keep a little pad beside the lamp. Each night write 3 short lines. Do not judge them. Do not try to make them deep. Let them be small anchors of warm tea, a safe arrival, a remembered kindness. After writing, fold the paper and place it in a simple jar or box. Over time, the jar becomes a quiet archive of grace. On hot nights, open it and read a few. Let the memory of small mercies steady the chest. Gratitude also trains the body. When the hands rest on the heart, the breath slows. The muscles that carry anxiety loosen. The mind that wants to run too fast finds a rhythm. This is not a cure. It is a practice that invites rest. It shows how a steady habit can change the tone of the night. Be gentle with the practice. If naming 3 things feels impossible, start with 1. If writing is too much, speak the thanks in a whisper. The aim is not performance. The aim is presence. The habit moves the attention from scarcity toward what sustains. I speak of contentment as a skill of the heart that grows by small repetition. When the heavy nights come, do not demand haste. Let the practice work slowly. Allow the same gratitude to be named again and again. Let the jar on the windowsill prove that kindness keeps being given and received. Contentment learns in the repetition of noticing. Before I close this part, I offer a brief invitation. Place a palm where the breath is felt. Breathe slowly. Name one thing to be thankful for tonight. Imagine it like a small lamp set on the sill. Let that lamp brighten the edges of the dark. Hold to it a moment. Let the sound of gratitude be a small comfort. Rest with it. Trust a strength that reaches beyond what you can make. Shu, closing with assurance. The book closes more gently as the lamp lowers. My voice slows. Tonight's reading draws toward a quiet ending. The idea I carry is simple. Assurance is not a loud proclamation. It is a steady hand kept near the shoulder. It is a presence that does not abandon night watch. Assurance rides on the small practices we have kept. The lamp at the path, the habit of naming 3 small mercies, the willingness to admit weakness and to accept help. These are not dramatic proofs. They are daily evidences of a nearness that keeps the heart from being undone. I do not promise a life without pain. I do promise company. I promise the presence that meets one honest sentence of need. I promise strength that can be trusted when personal resolve thins. The old book I read says the one who walks with us is faithful. That faithfulness appears not always in grand signs. It appears in steady things, a returned call, a bowl on a doorstep, a neighbor who watches through the storm. As we end, practice a short and very simple ritual. Place both hands over the heart. Close the eyes if that helps. Breathe in slowly for 3 counts. Breathe out for 6. Let the breath make room. Name one short sentence of trust, a brief offering like, I will try one small step tomorrow, or I am not alone. Keep it spare. Let it be the final lamp for the night. If fear returns, do not argue with it. Hold it in the presence of this quiet assurance. The mind that worries will not be scolded here. It will be met. Let the small practices you have formed be the channel through which peace arrives. Return to them in the middle of the night if it helps. The jar of thanks, the palm on the chest, the steady rhythm of a soft breath. I will read again. I keep that promise without hurry. The lamp will be lit. The pages will stay patient. When the house is still, return to these habits. Let them shape the hours between wakefulness and sleep. Let them teach the muscles of trust. Before the last breath of this reading, offer one small prayer. Speak it softly, or keep it in the mind. Ask for mercy for tomorrow's tasks. Ask for courage to take one small step. Ask for the peace that keeps watch through the night. I place the book down now. The lamp glows a fraction less. The house inhales and settles. If sleep comes, welcome it as a gift. If wakefulness remains, keep the hand on the heart and the breath slow. Let the assurance that has been offered tonight be a steady companion. Rest well. The light will be here again. I will read to you another night. For now, breathe and know that you are seen and kept and loved in simple, steady ways. Good night. I turn the page one last time. The lamp makes a small pool of light. The house leans into the dark. My voice stays low and steady. Tonight I read a passage that speaks of an enduring love. I paraphrase it simply. In the plain language of comfort, the text tells of a love that holds even when everything else feels uncertain. It says nothing can finally separate the heart from that love. I do not list reasons to prove it. I hold the promise like a hand offered in the dark. It is steady. It is true. It is not flashy. It keeps watch. Listen to the sense of it. Distance cannot remove it. Depth cannot swallow it. Time cannot exhaust it. Power cannot outmatch it. Morning and night do not change its course. This faith is not a performance. It is a shelter. It is a soft word that comes with the dawn and with the long hours between sleep and waking. Picture. If that helps, a harbor at evening. The sea is calm. Boats ride gently at their moorings. Each craft is tied to an anchor. The storm may roar beyond the breakwater. Winds may test the ropes. Yet the anchor holds. The anchor is not a show of force. It is simple and true. The love I read of is like that anchor. It keeps the heart from drifting when the night is rough. I speak these things not to erase trouble. I say them to make room for breathing while trouble still exists. The love does not pretend that pain is not real. It does not deny loss. It does not say that sorrow is a mistake. It promises a companion who is nearer than fear, steadier than the loud thoughts, and kinder than the inner critic. Place a hand now over the chest. Feel the rise and fall there. Breathe in slowly. Let the breath fill the ribs gently. Breathe out twice as long. Repeat this slow breath 3 times. With each out-breath, imagine the anchor dropping a little deeper. Feel the weight of the rope. It makes the boat steadier. It makes the heart steadier. I read to you because reading is a way of sharing the lamp. These words have kept many through long nights. I keep them simple so the mind can hold them without wrestling. They are words meant to rest inside the quiet spaces. Let them settle, like warm light on the skin. There is mercy woven into this promise. Mercy looks like a neighbor who brings a blanket without fuss. Mercy looks like a friend who remembers the name you thought forgotten. Mercy looks like a voice that does not demand answers. The love spoken of meets us in small mercies. It tends the daily edges where fear tries to poke in. I remember a time when the dark felt bottomless. Plans fell apart. A door closed that should have stayed open. The chest learned a new heaviness. I carried the weight inward until I could hardly breathe. Then someone came in a quiet way. They did not lecture. They did not tidy the mess for show. They brewed a cup of tea and sat. Their simple presence changed the arithmetic of the night. It did not make the trouble vanish. It made the world large enough again to hold both sorrow and bread. That is how the love I read of often appears in small, practical gestures that keep the heart from drowning. Do not make this a test of self. The text does not ask for cleverness. It asks for openness. It asks for an honest naming of what is hard. Speak one short sentence aloud or inside the mind this hurts. Let the admission be simple. Let it be a key that opens the hand to accept help. Once the hand opens, mercy can move. If naming feels too direct, linger on an image instead. Imagine an old tree with deep roots. Storms come, and leaves fall. The wind tears at branches. The tree does not refuse the weather. Its roots go deeper. The roots do not do the work of pushing the wind away. They do the work of holding. The love I read of is like those roots. It holds without boasting. It keeps the trunk from being broken when the mind grows loud and offers worst-case scenes. Do not argue with it forcefully. Meet it instead with a steady practice. Place the palm on the heart again. Breathe. Say one short sentence of trust. Keep it plain. I am held. Keep the sentence small and return to the breath. Let the repetition be the repair. I will say a short, plain prayer now. It will be brief and spare. It asks that the promise of love be known in the places you feel empty. It asks that tenderness reach the rooms you fear to enter. It asks for rest sufficient for tonight, and enough courage for tomorrow's small step. The words are not long. They are a gentle petition spoken into the hush. If sleep will not come at once, do not punish yourself. Wakefulness has its own rhythm. Use the time kindly. Count the in-breaths. Let the out-breaths be slower. Name one small kindness you received today. Let that memory be a lamp. Let it hold the dark a little at bay. I do not promise that every night will be easy. I promise presence. I promise a love that does not quit. The passage I read assures that nothing can finally sever this connection. It is not wishful thinking. It is given as a steady fact, a truth that keeps being true in the small and ordinary moments. Some nights, the assurance will come as an answer to prayer. Other nights, it will arrive in the form of a neighbor's plate, left at a doorstep. Sometimes it will be a word from a friend. Sometimes it will be a quiet resilience forming in the chest. The holy work of love often moves through human hands. Open eyes to those hands. Receive what is offered. If asking for help feels hard, begin with one very small request. Send a brief message. Ask someone to hold a moment in their day. Ask for a short favor. The act of asking is not weakness. It is a way of letting community carry what cannot be carried alone. The promise of enduring love includes these shared burdens. There is freedom here as well. Freedom from the idea that worth depends on performance. Freedom to rest without needing to have all answers. Freedom to be known without making a list of credentials. The love assures that belonging is not earned, it is given. Let that truth shape the way the shoulders ease tonight. Keep these small practices close. Place a small note by the lamp. Fold a scrap and write a single word that means calm. Put it on the bedside table. Let the sight of that word be a reminder when the night grows long. Keep a jar of small mercies. If you wake at midnight, open it. Read one line. Let memory of kindness steady the breath. I will read again another night. The lamp will wait. The book will remain. The voice will be low and steady. My promise is to come back without hurry and to bring more small words that make room for rest. Trust that the dwelling of love is patient. Trust that it keeps vigil without needing applause. Before we end, place both hands now where the heart is felt. Breathe in. Hold for a moment. Breathe out slowly. Repeat twice. This is a small ritual of handing over. Picture the anchor drawing steady. Picture roots holding deep. Picture a hand that does not leave. Now say, quietly, one brief sentence of trust. It may be the same as mine. It may be different. Keep it spare. Let it sit like an ember. Let the ember glow while the eyes grow heavy. I close the book gently. The lamp throws one last soft circle of light. The room breathes. If sleep comes, receive it as a gift. If wakefulness remains, keep the hand on the chest and the breath measured. Let the assurance offered tonight be a companion through the dark. Know that you are not alone. Know that you are kept by a love steady and wide. Rest in that truth. Good night.